Mic'd up.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Game 3 postgame. Adam was unable to join us, but we have a more than adequate replacement. Instead of bobblehead Kramer, we've got live Kramer. How's it going there, Big Dan?
Live Kramer's doing all right.
Live Kramer still alive after the game tonight?
Well, I put the knives away. I'll leave them in the drawer, in the cupboard and in the drawer.
If the first couple were Shiva calls, what do we call this one? I mean, it's the third day, so does that make it a wake?
Well,
Two Jewish guys calling it a wake. I don't know what to call it at this point. So
right.
let's start with overall feelings about the game. I mean, what'd you think? Not that there's much to think about.
If you call it a wake, the Yankee bats were asleep. Let's put it that way. It's disappointing in a few ways, and I don't want to state the obvious, but they're coming home, and I don't want to kill Clark Schmidt, because but when someone has an off night, a pitcher has an off night, it's always going to be magnified in the World Series. But let's be realistic about what this is. Clark Schmidt is a back of the rotation arm. He's a solid number 4 in the regular season, but he's not really much more than that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need that, but you're asking your season to be saved on the back of the rotation arm. So the first inning is vital. He has to throw up a 0, and he didn't. And I think it was on a 2-strike pitch where they threw the same pitch on the inside corner.
Let's put it this way. I mean, in reality, the guy threw 68 pitches and only 37 were strikes, which means 31 were balls. That's not good.
No, it's not.
He only allowed 2 hits, but he allowed 3 runs. He did strike out 3. So he clearly had good stuff, but the pitch to Freeman, he just totally missed his target. I mean, it was like watching a replay of the Cortez pitch because it was in the same spot.
In the same spot. I mean, and I hate to say it. I mean, I know it's easier said than done because we're not major leaguers. We're major league.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Yeah, I speak for myself. You're major league wannabes, but you can't even think about throwing it inside. That pitch has to be outside.
No, it's got to be and I don't understand why he didn't come with a. I don't understand why he comes with a. Why he didn't come with a sweeper back to a curveball at that point ahead in the count. I will say, as far as Schmidt and being the back of the rotation guy, if you go through all the teams in Major League Baseball, right, you get to the number 3 starter, which is what everybody's going to be on in Game 3. Schmidt's a number 3, number 4 starter. Heel is potentially a number 3, number 2 starter with his stuff, and Cortez is a 3, 4, 5 starter. So it's not like the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees started a number 3 starter. Granted, the Dodgers started, and their number 3 starter is a guy who used to be a number 1 starter. And
that's
what Adam and I talked about before the series. I was really worried about Game 3. I was less worried about Flaherty in Game 1 than I was Buehler in Game 3 because these guys coming back from Tommy John, and it was his second Tommy John.
That's right.
Something clicks eventually with these guys, and they come back to be who they were. They figure something out, whether it's
happening with
velocity comes back, or they figure out how to pitch with their new situation. And Buehler's had now 3 starts in the postseason. His first one stunk, and his other 2 were fantastic. Right. Quite frankly, one of the things I alluded to before the series was, you know what? The Yankees are looking for pitching. There's your free agent potentially to sign. That's a mid-level guy that would be better than a Stroman or a Cortez. That's for damn sure.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. You brought up a point that I wasn't going to bring up on a post game, but it's funny you mentioned it.
Yeah, we'll get through it quick. I agree. I shouldn't have brought it up, but go ahead, make your point.
But the point I'm making is the Dodgers and the Yankees both spend money, and another friend of mine asked me, "Well, why are the Dodgers?"
Wait, you have a friend?
Can you believe it? Why are the Dodgers more successful? Because they spend the money wisely. Okay, I do agree. When you make a trade with another team, you have to have something that the other team wants. But the Dodgers traded for Betts. Betts was a World Series champion. When it came time to spend money on a free agent, they signed Freeman. Freeman was a World Series champion. Now, I have to be fair because when the Yankees signed Rodon, I actually thought it was a good signing. I liked the move. But it's turning out that Rodon might not be someone that can be counted on in October. But the jury's still out. It's really his first taste.
Right, it's his first time, and if his first season was a fiasco. His second season, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Most of the season, he was pretty good, and then he stunk in the playoffs. So maybe next year he'll be better in the regular season and better in the playoffs. But yeah, the Yankees. We'll get to some postseason stuff sooner rather than later, I guess. But but we'll go from there. So the Freeman home run obviously turned the game around.
I mean, the second it was hit, it was like, ugh.
Yeah, and what the other thing that I thought turned the game around, and we'll get to my brother's comment in a second, is what did you think of Stanton being sent on that? I can't believe they sent him.
It's funny because Rojas has made some questionable decisions sending him at third. I understood why they did it. And this is a shame, but I can't go into anybody's mind, but I don't think they had confidence that they were going to be able to score.
I agree with that, but I also think that Stanton didn't think he was going to be sent, because if you look at Stanton running from second to third, he was running like Stanton, and then from third to home, all of a sudden he did pick. Granted, he picked it up a bit for Stanton, but so let's go like this. Well, my brother has two comments on this exact thing. Well, two comments on his exact thing. So let's go to the first one.
Why would you send Stanton, the slowest man in baseball, on a short single to left field? Not only that, you had Rizzo coming up next, who's been on base almost half the times he's been at bat. Horrible, horrible base running, especially when they tell Stanton not to run all year. He wasn't running now either, so it didn't matter.
Okay, and then my brother's watching the postgame, and one of the reasons we do this show without watching all the comments postgame is we want to get our ideas out there. So this is what he just heard on the postgame show.
Boone just said that he liked the aggressiveness of sending Stanton, and it had to take a perfect throw for him to be thrown out.
Boone's delusional. How else can I say it?
Thank you very much. Boone is delusional. I think that is the highlight comment from this show. If we had to name this show, it would be Kramer says Boone is delusional. I absolutely agree. He's out of his gourd. It's not the guy to send. And my brother made an even better point, which pains me to say. Rizzo was on deck, and Rizzo's had really good at-bats.
That's true.
And there's something about Rizzo in the clutch that you feel good about.
I was going to ask you something. I don't mean to cut you off, because I remember we had this discussion on one of the other podcasts where I proposed that since the Yanks are stuck with $6 million, whether Rizzo returns or not. That's what his contract status is. He's $17 million for the year, which they're going to decline. So it's $6 million. So I made a proposal. You know what? If Rizzo were a free agent now, what would he realistically get? 2 years, 12, 14?
So probably 2 years, 24. 2 years, 24 to 2 years he'll get 2 years, 24 total or 28 total, in that neighborhood.
You think he would get that much?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I didn't. I think his power might be really gone.
I have news for you. One of the things I've said in previous podcasts is if the Yankees didn't get past the first round that they played in, Boone would have been fired.
Yeah.
I would have been happy if they made Rizzo the manager. He brings something to the table. You're better off farther away, Kramer. It's a little scary. He brings something to the table that is, I think, very valuable. And I could see him ending up with the Mets if they lose Alonso, but that's again a story for another day. The other thing that bothered me is a couple of things. Obviously, I've been harping on this for a while. I said at the beginning of the series, the key to the series was Judge. Adam was like, it's Chisholm. I'm like, no, it's Judge. If he hits, they win. Again, today, first inning, guy on base. Judge, granted, listen, Soto made out, but Judge didn't do anything with him on base, with Glaber on base in the bottom of the first. In the bottom of the fourth, he let off. Judge let off, and he missed a hanger and hit a fly ball. Even the announcers were saying, oh boy, is Buehler just breathing a sigh of relief. And then after the Soto walk in the sixth, he hit a grounder to the pitcher that, if it was fielded cleanly, was a double play. And then they had 2 strikes on him in his next at bat, and they were ready to boo him in the 8th inning when it was 0-2. But he, in actuality, today, he did especially that last at bat in the 8th inning, he did not swing at pitches out of the zone. And that was the first good sign that I've seen in this series, is that he didn't swing. Now, granted, he didn't do anything, but we'll see. It didn't help them that, Stanton's at bat after the Judge walk. It was a hanger that buckled Stanton, but it looked like it was high, just like in the previous inning. Torres took that pitch that looked like it was high. Somebody, I think it was one of the Caro brothers in our text string, said that Boone needs to do what got us here and really ride the umpires hard when they do that kind of crap. I actually think that was a really good idea. In the 8th inning,
I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
In the 8th inning, at this point in the game, after the 7th inning and the 8th inning, where the Yankees were getting screwed, and then Chisholm got screwed on a pitch.
He did.
If he would have come out and he would have gone crazy when Chisholm was at bat, instead of telling Chisholm to calm down, which they caught on the audio, I would have actually been pretty happy with that. I would think it was Boone finally got fed up with this garbage umpiring. Now, I will say this: the umpire was bad both ways. Again, it wasn't like the Yankees were disadvantaged, but it seemed like the Yankees were disadvantaged because the Yankees didn't hit. So, you can't win if you don't score.
No.
So that's the bottom line. But I don't, tomorrow he shouldn't come out and get tossed right away. If it was regular season, I would say yes, but he shouldn't get tossed right away. But I would have been pretty happy if he would have gone berserk, especially after the Stanton at bat or even after the Chisholm pitch where Chisholm was all flustered, at least to come out to defend Chisholm. It would have been nice.
It's obviously not the umpire's fault that the Yanks lost the game.
No, absolutely.
But from what I was watching, though, that the Yanks were disadvantaged. I want to be. I don't want to say it in an unkind way. The umpire, yes, he missed calls on both sides, but he was egregiously bad against the Yankees tonight. Okay. I'm not suggesting that he had any ulterior motive to do it, but the call against Torres. That ball, that was not even borderline. I mean, you can't hit that pitch. The pitch was at his up above his chest. You can't hit it.
Yeah, it was an unhittable pitch. That's why I texted you guys. I go, was that on the swing or was that on the pitch? Because that's when I caught up. Because I had a thing that I had to do, and I caught up on that. Torres' bat was the first one I saw live since the first inning that I watched live.
Let's say he walks. I mean, now you have Soto up as the tying run.
Right. And the stadium's going berserk.
The stadium's going berserk.
And the Yankees have gotten to the Dodgers bullpen in the previous 2 games.
Right. That's right.
So, so the other thing I wanted to say is, let's say I'll ask you this question: do you think they need to change Judge in the lineup for tomorrow?
Unfortunately, no, because you could. It pains me to say it. It's unlikely the Yanks are going to win the series. I mean, it's never happened.
And not in the World Series, but as we know, it's happened.
We know it's twice. Yeah, but that's why it's unlikely that they're going to win 4 in a row. So there's no reason to change the lineup now because then what you're showing is you're losing confidence in your best.
I wouldn't have changed the lineup in any of these games. Would you? What I want to get off my chest here is I'm sick and tired of reading. I'm sick and tired about reading all these tweets and comments about everybody saying that he needs to be benched. Jose Canseco, let's take it at the source. Wait, now Canseco, I'll give him credit. He's the only one that told the truth about steroids after the fact. Yeah. But he says that Aaron Judge on Twitter, he says Aaron Judge should be benched. That's crap. There's no way he should be benched.
My response to it: Canseco should be silenced.
You sound like Trump running for president. So it's just really interesting that the Dodgers were able as the road team to score first, and the Yankees were not able to do it. There's not much you could say in this game other than the fact that the Yankees failed at the plate. As far as the pitching goes, Canley threw 11 pitches. Why he came out, I don't understand. Why give them another look at Weaver if for some strange reason they're able to come back in the series?
This was a game, although I know what they were thinking. They figured 4-0, it's out of it. This was a game that they should have used Stroman just to eat up 2 or 3 innings and be done with it. Because I hate to say they don't have the lineup to come back. They just don't.
I don't know if they should have used Stroman. I mean, I had no problem. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Leiter, but he's pitched okay.
He's actually done a decent job. I got to give
What's
him
funny
credit.
is Nestor coming in to face Otani, Betts, and Freeman
I
was
know
pretty
that.
funny. I
Right.
didn't have a problem with it. I had a problem with it the other day. Cousins coming in, all right,
Well,
whatever.
that was a
The
two. See,
pitching, the pitching was fine. I mean, there's nothing to do. I just did think it was a waste to bring in Weaver.
Cousins was a serious choice. He hasn't been good this postseason. So that
You
was,
know,
but all right.
so and then obviously Verdugo hit the home run in the ninth inning because all Kopech was doing is running back and throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, which a major leaguer should be able to hit. And Verdugo, good for him, he hit it.
Yeah.
But what do you think they should do now? We'll do a little bit of a pregame now.
Oh, okay.
We're both. There's not much really to talk about here, other than the Yankees' advantage of starting pitching ended up being poof, nothing.
Gone. Yeah, it's completely
Do
gone.
you do any? I mean, and then I don't understand why, if Trevino was good enough to start the game, why he pinch hit with Wells later in the game. That is sort of like
I wouldn't have started Trevino, and it's
I
no.
wouldn't have started Trevino. I would have actually started Dominguez and batted him ninth instead of Verdugo, because you had a right-handed pitcher pitching, and you might as well, because Verdugo had been an automatic out until his at bat in the ninth inning.
Yeah, I know they're worried defensively to do when
Yeah,
they do.
but you're not scoring. You're
I
not
might have done
scoring.
that. I might have done that too. They can't score. I might have
They
done
can't
that.
score. So what do you think they should do tomorrow? I mean, I mean, it's going to be Glaber, Soto, Judge, Stanton, Chisholm, Rizzo, Volpe, or Volpe, Rizzo.
Right.
But what do you think they do? A catcher tomorrow? You think it's going to be Wells?
I think it's going to be Wells tomorrow.
And what do you think they do in left field? Is it going to be Verdugo or somebody else?
I think Verdugo's going to start the game, and as much as I hope this doesn't happen. I think Verdugo's going to start the game. If the Yanks are trailing, or if the game is out of hand, either way, I think they'll put Dominguez in just to give him the experience of an at bat or two.
Well, if they're ahead, I don't think they take out Verdugo because they don't want to lose the defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're pretty much on the same page. We don't expect anything to change tomorrow. Obviously, Luis Gil has to be throwing strikes, and he has to go 5-6 innings. I'm sorry, it's the Yankee bullpen is okay, but they've got to put themselves in a position to get ahead where they could use Hill for Otani, Betts, and Freeman at some point in the 6th or 7th or 8th innings. And then hopefully Canley, oh my God, Canley can continue to do what he's doing, and then Weaver can close it out.
Yep.
If they have to go to Cousins, Cortez, Leiter, and even to a certain extent Holmes, they're in a lot of trouble tomorrow.
Yeah, then the season will be over. If they have to use those guys, it'll be done. And I just, it's funny when the series, or before the series started, you looked at the teams on paper and you thought it was close, but the Yanks have gotten exposed. I mean, it's not as
Their offense is exactly what we have been saying their offense is before the season, during the season, and even throughout the postseason. The only difference between this series and the Cleveland series is the bottom of the order. While they didn't have any punch, which bothers Adam, they did hit 281 in the Cleveland series, which was higher than the first 4 hitters were hitting. Of course, the first 4 hitters were dragged down by Judge, but go from there. So there's not really much else to say about the game today. So we're going to call it, but we have one comment from my brother. He had very important. He had 2 questions. I'll answer one without playing it. I'm not following Jose Canseco on Twitter. I was going through Bleacher Report, and I go through the comments, and I wanted to see how rough the fans were being. I don't necessarily think Boone lost this game, so people saying he should be fired is ridiculous. And then anything against Judge, the guy's the MVP, and he's having a horrible series. He needs to do, at the next time they're in the playoffs, or for some miracle this year, do what A-Rod did and finally have a good playoff series. And then Todd's last comment is an interesting one.
Is Adam's bathroom out of order or in use that he can't get on the show tonight?
Adam is not on the show tonight, not because his bathroom is out of order, but because it's in working order and he can't get in there. Or it's in working order and he's stuck in there and we don't want to be in there with him. So that's the story on Adam's bathroom. So we're going to have another post-game show tomorrow. I don't know who will be here. It could be Dan Kramer by himself. It could be me and Kramer. It could be Adam and Kramer. It could be me and Adam. It could be the final nail in the coffin. But thanks for any of you that are listening. And again, watch for our shows on YouTube. And I will be posting them all over Twitter and Facebook and other social media. And of course, YouTube and on the Mic'd Up app will go live about 10 to 15 minutes after the game tomorrow. Oh, one more comment coming in. Ho, ho. Let's get Weber in because, he is a big boss man here at Mic'd Up.
Playoff baseball has become a battle of bullpens. And I think it should be more dependent upon starting pitching. What about a rule that we were thinking about the other day? You lose the DH once your starting pitcher comes out of the game. Thoughts?
Oh, we can't do that. No, because
No, I think that's a silly rule. I think you just play the game the way it is. The problem is that these guys are not allowed to pitch third time through the order because they're all being taught go as hard as you can for as long as you can, and then we'll get you out of there. Which means by the third time you go through the order, they're done. And there's very few pitchers who can go third time through the order that have the skill set to do it. Of course, even if you're a Yankee pitcher and you throw 88 pitches and you're Garrett Cole, a guy who can do it, they're going to pull you out of the game.
Yeah.
So it's silly at this point. Yamamoto coming out was silly. Buehler coming out. Buehler threw today. I'm looking at Buehler's stats. Buehler threw today 76 pitches in 5 innings. There was no reason he couldn't have gone into the 6th inning.
But there's a difference. The Dodgers had the leeway. They had the lead, and they had the lead in the series. But on Webby's point and on your point, I know it was game 1. You don't need a rule to eliminate a DH or change the structure of the game. You just need better management.
Well, this goes to my situation that I think there's too many teams and not enough pitching. I think if you reduce, they're looking to expand to 32 from 30. They're not looking to go down to 24. Obviously, the 2 teams that you can get rid of right now because they don't have stadiums are the A's and the Rays. Out of here, right? But, they're never going to contract because there's too much money in expansion. They're talking about the expansion fee being between $1 and $2 billion.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. All right, Kramer, I will speak to you tomorrow. I will be texting nonstop, as will you.
Yep.
Thanks for joining me tonight. Sorry it was on such a sad note, but
let's get a win tomorrow and have a happier post game.
Yep. Speak to you later.